At R54 Restorations, we work on and restore all kinds of cars, foreign and domestic, new and old. But if there's one kind of car we specialize in, it's without a doubt the Ford Mustang, in particular those made between 1965 and 1973. Today we're going to take a look at my picks for the top 5 best classic Mustangs ever made. Alright, here at number 5 to kick off our list, we got the 1969 Mach 1. Undoubtedly one of the most popular Mustangs ever made, 1969 was the first year for the Mach 1. It had a wide variety of engine and transmission options available, and is said to have been one of the better handling muscle cars of that era. And the Mach 1's looks are undeniable. With the optional, fully functional shaker hood, front and rear spoilers, this car is arguably one of the best looking Mustangs of all time. I mean, come on, John Wick drives a 69 Mach 1. And if it's good enough for John Wick, it's definitely good enough for me. And a quick fun fact, there's a point in John Wick where they reference this car as being a Boss 429, but it's not. In case you didn't know, it's not. Coming in at number 4, we got a living legend, the 1965 Shelby GT350. Sure hope you like Wimbledon white, because back in '65, if you wanted the meanest Mustang money could buy, that was your only option. When the Mustang debuted in '64 and a half, people said it was a grocery getter, a secretary's car. And that ridiculous notion was quickly forgotten as soon as Carroll Shelby showed up on the scene with his 306 horsepower GT350. The Shelby almost single-handedly transformed the public's perception of the Mustang from grocery getter to performance car. A perception that has stuck with the Mustang to this day. But who better to summarize the greatness of this car than the man himself, Mr. Carroll Shelby.
So I got them to build a high-performance 289 V8. We took the suspension and changed it. We put a large rear end in it with a limited slip, took the rear seat out, and went out and beat the hell out of the Corvettes with it.
Ha ha ha! Number 3. The 1971 Boss 351. The Boss 351 was only made for 1 year, and only 1,806 were ever produced. And after those cars were built, Ford wouldn't make another Boss Mustang for another 40 years. The engine was based off the 351 Cleveland, which in itself is a legendary motor amongst classic Ford fans. Ford took the Cleveland and gave it a whole list of performance upgrades, including a 750 CFM carburetor, a factory aluminum intake manifold, functional ram air, and forged pistons, just to name a few. The 71 Boss made 330 horsepower, had a 4-speed manual transmission with a Hurst shifter, and a 9-inch traction lock rear end, making this thing a legitimate muscle car. And with all those factors considered, this car is more than worthy of its spot on this list. Coming in at number 2, we got the 1967 Shelby GT500.
The man, Carroll Shelby, engineer, race driver. The car, the Shelby Mustang GT.
The GT500 commanded respect the day it hit the streets. It was a totally different beast compared to its older brother, the GT350. For starters, this thing was powered by a monstrous 428 with an aluminum intake manifold and dual 600 CFM Holley carburetors. Making a respectable 355 horsepower, the GT500 was a force to be reckoned with. It was also a more comfortable and driver-friendly car when compared to the earlier GT350. And that was thanks to the more modern creature comforts that were available on the GT500. Things like power steering, power brakes, and believe it or not, some of these even came with air conditioning. And while we're on topic, if you're a fan of Shelby Mustangs, Mustangs in general, or you just like to hear a good story, I've got a video out right now about Jim Morrison, the lead singer of The Doors, and his long-lost 1967 Shelby GT500. If that sounds like something to be interesting to you, I'll put the link down in the description below. And it would be greatly appreciated if you'd like this video, subscribe to my channel for all things classic cars, modern muscle, and car flipping alike. Now with that out of the way, let's get to number 1. And finally, at number 1, we got none other than the 1969 Boss 429. Remember back to the beginning of this video when I told you John Wick believes his car is a Boss 429? Well, this is the real deal. There was only 859 Boss 429s built in 1969. Say that 3 times fast. The 69 Boss was a menacing-looking, yet almost unassuming, monster. It was nowhere near as flashy as its brother, the 1969 Mach 1, and in fact, if it wasn't for the enormous hood scoop and some Boss 429 decals on the front fenders, you might think you're just looking at an everyday fastback. That is, until you looked under the hood. The Boss 429 was the biggest engine ever put in a Mustang. And getting the motor to fit was no easy task. Ford contracted a company called CarCraft, spelt with K's, to do the job. First, all the front suspension had to be completely replaced, just so the car could withstand the extra weight of the motor. Then, the shock towers had to be chopped because the engine was too wide. There was so little room left under the hood, they actually put the battery in the trunk. The Boss 9 was officially rated at 375 horsepower, but many people claim that the version the public received was detuned, and with some simple changes, it was capable of way more than that. But that's a claim that I can neither confirm nor deny. But regardless if that's true or not, the 69 Boss is still one of the most sought after and coveted Mustangs out there. And after taking all that into careful consideration, the 69 Boss is my number 1 pick for the greatest classic Mustang ever made.